Okay, and welcome back to my Astro Imaging Journey channel. I just want to go over the Moonlite CHL motorized focuser and just do a little mini review. Clearly, the one displayed on the screen here is from their website. It's not the one that I actually have installed. If you remember in the previous video, mine was all black. And I have a DSLR instead of the QSI camera here. However, it's a good representation of what's there, so I just wanted to have it up here on the screen while I do my little review and hopefully point to a few things on the mouse with the mouse here and just give you my thoughts. First off, love this thing. Prior to this, I was losing about half a night because I just didn't realize how much, especially here in the winter months, the focus would drift due to the temperature. Earlier in the year when I was able to get full night sessions going after my other equipment issues, they were short nights and the focus just never seemed to drift that much, so I thought everything was good. And then the weather had factors, and there was about a month and a half that I wasn't able to image at all, and then it got really cold. And the first multi-night ability to get some images done, we're talking a good 10-11 hours worth of imaging time, which is double what I was getting before. I woke up the next morning, had a bunch of images, great, shut everything off, did my stuff during the day, powered everything on, verified my polar alignment, started taking images again, and it wasn't until the third day, after the second set of sessions, that I started looking at the images themselves when I had the time, and I started noticing that about halfway through the night I had clear focus issues, being that it's an SCT. You had that distinct black dot in the middle of the images, or the middle of the stars rather. So by that point we're well out of focus, and that was about halfway through the session. So I had to throw away so much data from those 2 nights. The third night, made sure my focus was dialed in, and before the night was through, it lost focus again. And did the research and found out that it was probably the temperature, and I started looking at putting in a motorized focuser. I really didn't want to have to catch a couple-hour nap, go out, refocus, stop imaging, refocus, catch a couple-hour nap, do it all over again. I really didn't want to do that. So I took the time, did the research, and everything I was seeing was people that were replacing the knob here, and the other videos where they were doing the knob replacement, which is this is a locking knob here, but they were replacing the focuser knob with a micro touch or one of the other vendors, and then putting a motorized on top of that. But I wasn't seeing anybody that had the EdgeHD with the locking knobs doing that, and I was curious as to why, and posted over on cloudy nights, and somebody mentioned, hey, Moonlite, try them. So I started looking and saw that it attached to the back. I'm like, well, how does that work? Well, once I figured out that when you're adjusting focus with the knob on the back, you're just all you're doing is moving that rear mirror forward and backward. Well, if it's static, if you move the camera forward and back, you can adjust focus. And once that hit me, yeah, this would be a good viable option. So I took the leap, and I'll scroll up here. You're seeing the data, and you're looking at all this information, and it's a lot to take in, and I was just having issues. And it does work with the 0.7 reducer, all this good stuff. I was just like, there's just so much information, and what I failed to do was scroll all the way to the bottom. And this is where I was not getting. Okay, I did not see this at the bottom, so I was stopping somewhere up in here, and once I got to this, I'm like, oh well, I'm not using that, so I'm using SGP. I'm not seeing anything for SGP. I was confused, so I used this little contact MTA link, fired off an email to him. Gentleman Ron responded, said, I have a similar setup to you, and what you need is the CHL with the Mini 2V or Mini Controller V2, excuse me, and it all comes as one package, has everything that's needed for me to attach to my DSLR to it, and we'd be good to go. So I came back here, and by that point I had noticed this down here, just a simple select. I got the 11-inch edge. We want the Mini 2V controller, and I wanted it black. And then it was a simple order and wait. They were real quick. My review on the shipping and everything, very quick. I put the order in over a weekend, and it was shipped on Monday afternoon, and then it was there 2 days later. Pretty quick. It's not overnight. I didn't see an overnight option, but that's okay. Weather was pretty crappy, and it didn't matter as far as that was concerned. Wasn't like I needed it the next day type of thing. But got it installed, and the installation was pretty easy. Hopefully you've seen the installation video. I mean, I went the extra little steps to use the calipers to make sure I had the right spacers and everything. A simple email to these guys, and they would have been able to say, oh yeah, you need these two spacers here, or you just need this one spacer there. They seem to be more than willing to help you out. So if you prefer to go that route, by all means, go right ahead. But I like to figure things out myself, so I used the calipers and made sure I had the right stuff. And first night, that thing worked great. It did take me about an hour to figure a few things out. You've probably already seen the first use. I'm not going to rehash too much on that. But the not knowing the total number of steps and not knowing where my midpoint was, I made an assumption which was wrong. And then I had to start over and had to do a few things. So it took me about an hour to get that setting correct. But once I did, it imaged that night and the next night flawlessly. took a little bit of play the first night to go through and, you know, figure out my step sizes and the number of intervals and that to work with my particular setup. But once that all got figured out the first night, the second night, not a problem. 10 hours worth of imaging, and I got 10 hours worth of good solid data, and the only subs that I did have to throw out were not due to focus issues. They were due to cloud cover and a couple tracking issues, you know, wind gusts, things of that nature. So, you know, no focus problems whatsoever. I've got another 3, possibly 4 nights in a row that I should be able to image clearly, and I'm hoping it's rock solid again for this session. I will not have this uploaded by then. If there are any issues, I will tag that here at the end. But I'm going to consider this to be the final. So from my review standpoint, the motor is really quick. You know, I thought there was more travel than what there was. So getting it integrated into your system from the software standpoint takes a little bit. It does take some figuring out, but once you have it, once you have those settings, it is real quick. The stepper motor was also very quick. I was actually quite surprised. I was thinking it was going to take an image, have to do the, you know, do its evaluation of the image, step the motor. It would take 2 to 5 seconds, take another image, 2 to 5 seconds, take another image, and it was less than a second. I'd say like half a second, and it was boom, right there, taking the next image. There was no lag in getting the stepper motor to go through the progressions when it was trying to focus. So solidly built, all metal construction, looks great, feels solid, nothing has slipped, the rings, the spacers, everything has been just on point. So it's just great from that standpoint. You know, the controller is nothing more than a converter to go from the USB to the motor. It would be nice if it was integrated into the motor itself, but I believe they have a new product out that does that. So, you know, this is previous generation from the new. Just, you know, I went with their recommendation. This was the setup that I should need. You know, would it have been nice to go USB straight to the motor and have everything on board? Yes. Required? No. Would have been nice to have USB from the mini controller to the motor? Yes, but required? No. And in actuality, if they were going to be a separate controller like this, then I kind of like having the DP9 based serial cable. It, you know, it screws in, it locks in. You're going to keep out a lot of the moisture if there is any dew or anything like that, humidity in the air. It's not going to fall out. It's just going to be rock solid as long as the cable itself doesn't get jostled and breaks. But these are readily available as far as replacements. So That's pretty good. So in that respect, I like it. The temperature probe makes it nice, having that included. You know, at least with SGP, you know, if temperature is what's causing us to lose focus, then that's where we obviously want to have a temperature probe so that after it follows by so many degrees, automatically refocus. If you saw in my first use, I'm actually using both the temperature and amount of time. I did like, in a little bit of a review of SGP, I did like the fact that in regards to that, if we go back over here to SGP, you know, clearly I'm not connected right now, but it keeps the last focus temp and the last focus time. So if the temperature fell by 1 degree, it refocuses and it resets the time. So you're not, you know, my fear was that it was going to be independent and that 30 minutes into a session, it's going to refocus due to the temperature, and then 30 minutes after that, it would refocus due to the 1 hour time, and then maybe be good for another hour, and then refocus. You know, I thought they were independent of each other, being that they both reset, whether it be a refocus based on time or temperature, both get reset and the counters start over. So that was fear alleviated. Could I just go with temperature? Yes, but just for now, I'm thinking I'm liking the 1 hour and 1 degree and using both. So I'm going to stick with that. Let's go back over here. You know, the USB, obviously, you know, would it be nice to have things lock in a little bit more? Sure. But it is what it is. The cables are pretty inexpensive, so I've got a few extras laying around anyways in case they do break. But since everything is statically mounted onto the OTA, that should not be a problem because they just don't get disconnected or moved or touched. I think lastly will be the power supply. It is a 120 volt to 12 volt transformer based connection. I would have liked to have seen a straight 12 volt adapter as well, you know, a secondary plug for those that, you know, do move this around and don't have access to 120 and they're using, you know, deep cycle batteries as their power source. Only having this one, you're either going to have to match the amperage and buy, and the unplug, of course, and buy yourself a third party 12 volt adapter, or you're going to need an inverter to go from your battery to 120 and then this from 120 back to the 12 volt, which, you know, you're using extra battery power at that point. So your battery is going to drain quicker. So of anything that I have had so far with regards to this, that would be my only negative, is that it wasn't a straight 12 volt adapter for battery use. Other than that, this would be 5 stars across the board. Rock solid, quick, easy to assemble, easy to get up and running. The only pain really was getting it to, you know, getting the settings right in SGP, but that's with anything. So I really can't hold that against Moonlite, and I really don't hold that against SGP either. That is I'm holding that one a little bit more against myself for not just knowing the process. If I had another OTA and I was adding a motorized focuser to that, now that I've worked out the kinks and how to get this one working, the other one would go much quicker. So, you know, I can't really hold that against either one of them. But yeah, 5 stars. Ron over there at Moonlite, awesome dude. Was more than willing to help. I do need to send him an email back. I'm probably going to do that after this multi-night session, just to say, hey, everything's working, and I've been using it now for, you know, 5-6 imaging sessions, and it's been rock solid, you know, that type of thing. So yeah, love this thing. Well worth the investment. I'm not losing more than half a night's worth of subs due to focusing issues now. So excellent. And with that, I'm going to end it. And thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, ring that bell. Appreciate each and every one of you that's taking the time to watch these things. Clear skies. Have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.